Hello everyone and welcome back to Alex's Mobs. This is the mod that adds a whopping 89 brand new high quality mobs to your Minecraft game. In this video we will cover all the new mobs added since the previous video, so grab a snack and strap in as we safari through the world of Alex's Mobs. This video will be broken down into updates. The first update we'll be discussing is the Bygone Beasts update, and the first mob added by this update is the Froststalker. This is a vicious pack predator perfectly adapted to live in the coldest of climates. Their backs are covered in sharp spikes that they're able to use in combat. They will spawn in icy biomes, they live in groups and will attack you if you approach them. They're hostile towards many mobs, but their favorite prey are the Tusklins, which are also a new mob added in this update. Their bodies are covered in spikes that they will shake off if attacked. This spike shaking off attack will also deal damage to anything that gets hit by the spikes. Pushing the Froststalker into water will cause them to refreeze and regain their spikes. The spikes will also melt if they're in a hot biome, water or rain, and when the spikes melt, the Froststalker will be inflicted with weakness. If their spikes are intact, they can freeze water by simply walking on it, and you can craft a helmet from their loot that makes them loyal to you, and they will attack any mobs that you target. If you are wearing said helmet, you can breed them with raw pork chops, and they drop ice, packed ice, and blue ice if killed while spiky, and they will also drop Froststalker horns. The next mob up is the Tusklin. These are beastly, long-lost ancestors of hoglins, evolved to be at home in the cold. They spawn in cold biomes, and they're defensive against the player, and will attack if one gets too close by using their massive tusks to gore their target. They will not chase the player very far unless their target is a Froststalker. They can be ridden with saddles but will buck you off after a few seconds. Ancient hog shoes obtainable from piglins can be used to increase their movement speed and time before they buck you off while riding. Feeding them brown mushrooms heals them and makes them temporarily docile. If they are in this pacified state, you can breed them with red mushrooms. Baby Tusklins will sometimes dig up brown mushrooms from under dirt. If a Tusklin is transported into the nether, it will begin shaking and transform into a hoglin after about 15 seconds, and they drop raw pork chops and snowballs. Now while we're in the nether, we'll take a look at the Laviathan. These are gigantic magmatic reptiles covered in blackstone and oozing lava. They are passive mobs that spawn in the nether's lava lakes. They will hunt crimson mosquitoes by breaching the lava surface, expelling smoke from their back to lure the mosquitoes towards it, then snapping them up with its beaked mouth. You can equip it with a stratolite saddle and stratolite tack to let you ride them across lava lakes, and since they are so big, you can fit up to 4 people on their back. They are able to swim in water, but they take on a hardened obsidian form if in water. That gives them an additional 20 points of armor. They can also crawl pretty quickly on land. They can be healed with magma cream and bred with crimson mosquito larvae. They drop blackstone and magma blocks if they are the standard variant, and obsidian if they are the cooled obsidian variant. The final mob in this update is the Cosmaw. These are strange, enigmatic creatures with traits from many different animal classifications. They are neutral mobs that spawn in the end, but they will attack if provoked by using their proboscis to bite their target. They are tameable with Cosmic Cod and will attack Cosmic Cod. They can be set to follow, stay, or wander. If they are tamed, they cannot be ridden, but they will save you from falling into the void. Tamed Cosmaws can be healed with chorus fruit and bred with Cosmic Cod. As a drop, they can sometimes drop chorus fruit. Next, we'll talk about the Come to Brazil update, first of which as the Toucan. These are small, colorful birds with massive beaks. They are passive creatures that spawn in jungles and can be fed apples to plant oak trees. They can be fed bananas to plant jungle trees, and golden apples, which transforms them into a golden toucan that plants saplings faster. Finally, if you feed it an enchanted golden apple, it will transform into an enchanted golden toucan that will plant without needing to be given any fruit. These birds come in 4 different colors, and they also have another appearance if they're named Sam or Toucan Sam. They can be bred with eggs and drop feathers. Next is the maned wolf, which is a strange canine that is actually neither wolf nor fox. These are passive mobs that spawn rarely in savannas. If you feed one an apple, it will shake its fur and release a pungent odor, attracting other passive animals to itself. If it is shaking near a leafcutter anthill, the amount of fungus grown will increase. It will dance if near a jukebox playing music, and can be bred if fed raw rabbit. It has a unique skin if named Plummet, Plummet Studios, Ender, or Ender Maned Wolf. Now we have the Anaconda, which are giant aggressive snakes at home both on land and in water. These are hostile mobs that spawn in swamps. They will attack any creature via constriction. Anything killed by an anaconda via constriction will yield no drops. After a few constrictions, the anaconda will shed its skin, which can be used to craft a vine lasso or for a banner pattern. They have 2 different color variants and can be placated and bred with raw chicken. The last mob added in the Come to Brazil update is the Anteater. These are insectivorous mammals with large snouts and longer tongues. They are neutral mobs that spawn in jungles, and their favorite prey are leafcutter ants, which they will consume with their tongues. They will fight back if provoked by swiping at their target using their sharp claws. They can also sometimes be seen raiding leafcutter anthills by digging with their claws. This can yield several items, the full list of which can be found on the wiki linked in the description below. Baby anteaters will ride on the back of adults who can be bred with leafcutter ant pupas. They will have a unique skin if named Peter or Peter the Anteater. Next, we'll cover the Caves and Cliffs update, not of Minecraft, but of Alex's mobs. The first mob added from this is the Rocky Roller. These are giant spiky monsters with a round shape and short limbs. They are hostile creatures that spawn rarely in dripstone caves. To attack, they will roll into a ball and charge at their enemies. If they roll into a wall, they can trigger an earthquake which can cause nearby blocks to fall. When slain, they can drop tough, pointed dripstone and rocky shells, which can be used to craft a rock shell chestplate. Next is the Flutter. This is a small plant-like creature with large flower on its back. They are passive mobs that spawn in lush cave biomes and can be tamed if fed 3 to 6 unique different flowers. They can be made to stay, follow, or wander when tamed, and will defend the player by shooting homing balls of pollen at attackers. Tamed flutters can be healed with flowers, and they can be given a flower pot to increase their armor points. When given a flower pot, they can be picked up as a potted flutter if you shift right click them. They can be bred with bone meal, and when you breed them, there is a chance for a nearby azalea to bloom. When slain, they drop spore blossoms. The last mob added in this update is the Gelada Monkey. These are large, shaggy monkeys found in groups and commanded by a large maned leader monkey. There are neutral mobs that spawn in groups in flower meadows above y=100 and love to eat grass. They will fight back as a group if provoked by biting their attacker, and leaders of packs, as denoted by their larger manes, can challenge one another by rearing their fangs or showing their chest, and then will fight amongst themselves when a newcomer is present. They can sometimes be seen foraging for grass on the ground if they stand on a grass block, and they will sometimes approach and groom a non-rival Gelada Monkey for a few seconds. If they are fed wheat, the monkeys will become hungry and destroy all nearby grass and fern. They can be bred with dead bushes and they do not drop anything. Next up, we have the Atmospheric update. This update adds 4 new mobs, the first of which is the Jerboa. These are tiny nocturnal mammals that love seeds and are prey to many larger animals. They are small, passive mobs that spawn in deserts at night and spend their days sleeping. They are preyed upon by foxes, cats, and rattlesnakes, and they are afraid of players and will run if approached. When a player holds seeds or maggots, the Jerboa will approach the player and beg for the food. If you feed the Jerboa seeds, you can be granted the fleet-footed effect, which increases speed and gives you a slight jump boost while you're constantly jumping. They can be bred with maggots, crimson mosquito larvae, and leafcutter ant pupa, and they do not drop anything when slain. Next is the Terrapin. These are small reptiles that come in a vast array of colors and patterns. They are a passive turtle mob that spawn in rivers and non-oceanic bodies of water. They can be picked up in water buckets, and they come in many different color combinations which can change when bred. They are breedable with seagrass, and when bred they create 1 to 4 eggs which take a while to hatch. If you jump on a Terrapin once, it will retreat into its shell. If you jump on it again, you can send it spinning and bouncing off blocks, causing damage to any entities it hits. It can be named Koopa or Koopa Troopa to get a special skin, and they do not drop anything when slain. Next, we have a pretty cool one, the Comb Jelly. These are simple gelatinous creatures that shine brightly in a vibrant array of prismatic colors. They are very simple animals with no brain, and they simply float around the ocean aimlessly. They are passive mobs that spawn in frozen oceans at nighttime, and can be bucketed to get a bucket of comb jelly. When slain, they drop rainbow jelly, which can create rainbow glass, and the rainbow jelly can also be applied to any mob to make it rainbow. This effect can be removed with a sponge, and the jelly can be eaten to make the player itself rainbow. There are 3 color variants by default of the jelly, but if you rename the jelly that they drop to be called Bi, Non-Bi, Ace, Trans, Brazil, or Weezer, the entity that you apply the jelly to will shine with its respective colors. Finally, for this update, we have the Cosmic Cod. These are hydrophobic fish that float in schools in the void in the end. They are passive mobs, and they are preyed on by Cosmaw. Although, if one Cosmic Cod in the school is attacked, the whole shoal will teleport away to safety. They can be bucketed if right-clicked with an empty bucket, and when slain, drop themselves. Next, we have the Fan Favorites update, which adds 3 new mobs, the first of which is a little silly as it is the Bunfungus. These are huge mutated rabbits that spend most of their day sleeping and most of their night awake and hunting mobs. They are neutral mobs that spawn rarely in mushroom fields or if you feed a rabbit Mongol spores. They will fight back if provoked by using their big heads to headbutt the target. They sleep during the day and wake up at night to fight. They can leap great distances across the ground. If you feed them a carrot, they can be made passive towards players, which also gives the Bunfungus regeneration and strength, and when slain they drop red mushrooms. Next are the Bison, which are large, hoofed mammals that roam flat biomes. They are neutral creatures that will spawn in plains, snowy plains, and meadows. If provoked, they will charge at their target, dealing massive damage. They can also fight amongst themselves. Adult bison can also clear any snow layers in their way simply by walking. These creatures are often observed eating grass blocks and can be sheared for their fur, but they need to eat a lot of grass to regrow said fur. Their pelt can be coated with snow if in snowy weather, or by using a snow layer. This snow can be removed using a shovel if the bison is in rain, water, or a hot biome. They can be bred with wheat, and they drop bison fur and lots of raw beef. Finally, we have the giant squid, which are large invertebrates with massive eyes and long tentacles. These large neutral mobs will rarely spawn in deep oceans below a Y level of 25. The pupil in its eye will expand depending upon how close an entity is to the giant squid. It will fight back if provoked and can squirt ink at its attackers when attacked. They eat small fish and guardians but are the prey of cachalot whales. If one of these whales detects the giant squid via echolocation, the giant squid will latch onto the cachalot whale's mouth and attack it using its tentacles. The whale will attempt to eat the giant squid. If attacked by one of these whales, it can drop some lost tentacles amongst the fighting. These creatures become pale and depressurized if they are under less than 10 blocks of water pressure. They can also become a rare giant blue squid if struck by lightning, and when slain, drop ink sacs. The next update is the Fishy Business update, which, as you can gather by the name, adds 4 new fish to your world. The first of which is the Devil's Hole Pupfish. This is a small fish known for being the world's rarest fish. In fact, it is so extremely rare that can only be found in 1 chunk per world, known as the Devil's Hole chunk. This usually spawns in desert or badlands and has an underground water source. The way to find it is with an item called the Strange Fish Finder, and it can be bucketed. These fish will chase each other around like puppies, and they can scrape moss off blocks such as mossy cobble. During this, they may occasionally scrape off a slime ball. They will reproduce if fed moss and have no drops when slain. Next are catfish, which are lethargic bottom feeders that will attempt to suck up anything they find in their wide mouths. They spawn in rivers and swamps in small, medium, and large sizes. Small catfish can hold 3 items, medium can hold 9, and large catfish can hold 1 single mob smaller than a block. The catfish will spit the mob or items out if attacked or when fed a sea pickle. They will be drawn towards any nearby sea lanterns, and they can be bucketed to obtain a bucket of catfish. When slain, they drop raw catfish. Next, we have flying fish, which are strange fish known to leap out of the water and glide through the air. They are passive mobs that spawn in lukewarm oceans and have 3 different color variants. They will randomly jump out of the water and glide. They can also do this when attacked. They are prey to dolphins and seals, and they are bucketable as well. When slain, they can drop flying fish, which can be eaten or used to craft flying fish boots. Finally, for this update, we have the Skelewag. These are the undead remnants of fish that viciously slash and stab foes using their sharp skulls. They are hostile mobs that spawn in shipwrecks and will attack any player that isn't wearing an unsettling kimono. They will also attack dolphins. They are very fast in the water and can occasionally be found with a drowned jockey riding them, or with a skull or crossbones draped over their backs. They drop bones, fish bones, rarely Skelewag skulls, and very rarely novelty hats. The next update we have is the Wilder update. The first mob added in this update was the rain frog. These are small, squat frogs that can neither jump nor swim very well. They are passive creatures that spawn in desert biomes when it's raining. They come in cream, brown, and tan colors. They are often seen buried in sand blocks. They will only emerge if it is raining outside, if they get attacked, or if they are dug out with a shovel. If they are attacked, they will puff up and emit a loud squeaking sound. If any jukeboxes are playing music, nearby rain frogs will start dancing, and after some time of them dancing, it will begin raining. They can be bred with maggots and can also eat crimson mosquito larvae and leafcutter ant pupa. They have no drops when slain. The next mob added in the Wilder update is the Potoo. These are lazy birds with large eyes that spend most of their time asleep. They are passive mobs that spawn in dark forests. During the day, they will perch on a tree and sleep the day away. They are slightly more active at night and will remain on their perch, leaving only to catch any flies that get too close to them. They will occasionally play a cute yawning animation, and if the bird is in a location where the light level is above 7, their pupils will be small. If the light level is below 7, this is the level at which hostile mobs will spawn, they will have enormous pupils, so they can be used as a way to tell if your base is too dark. You can move them around using a falconry glove. They can be bred with maggots, and they drop feathers when slain. Then we have the Mudskipper. These are odd fish that spend most of their time walking around on land. They are passive semi-aquatic mobs that can be found in mangrove swamp biomes. If 2 Mudskippers meet, they will raise their pelvic fins and circle each other to establish their dominance. They can be collected with a water bucket to obtain a bucket of Mudskipper. They can be tamed by feeding them lobster tails and can be made to follow, stay, or wander. They can aid in fights by shooting mud balls that inflict slowness when they hit a target. And they can be bred with maggots, crimson mosquito larvae, or leafcutter ant pupa. Tamed Mudskippers can be bred with lobster tails, and on death they drop tropical fish. Then we have the Rhinoceros. These are huge, armored mammals that spawn in groups with large ivory horns upon their heads. They are defensive mobs that can be found in savanna biomes, and they will attack if the player gets too close or if provoked, unless they have been pacified with wheat. They attack by charging and using their horns to impale their target, and will attack all illager type mobs. If pacified with wheat, they will defend their feeder and will often stay near villages. If they are splashed with a potion, the potion effect will be applied to their horn for 15 to 20 attacks. They can be bred with grass or dead bushes, and they do not drop anything. The last mob added in this update is the Sugar Glider. These are small arboreal marsupials that often climb tree logs or leaves and glide throughout the forest. They are passive mobs that spawn in birch forests. They can be tamed with sweet berries and be set to follow, stay, or wander. Tamed sugar gliders can be shift right-clicked to be placed on the player's head, which gives said player slow falling effect. A tamed adult sugar glider standing on a leaf block will occasionally forage for items, and the full list of items they can forage for is on the wiki linked in the description below. They can be bred with honeycomb and they have no drops. The next update is one of my favorites. It is the very scary update, and the first of which is a very unique mob called the Farseer. These are incomprehensible beings that live in universes orthogonal from our own, and they can only cross over from their bizarre homeworlds at the very borders of the world, making them extremely rare. They are hostile mobs that can be found either in or outside the world border in any dimension. Because they live so far away, they can only be reached by using shattered dimensional carvers multiple times in one direction. They have several unique attacks, first of which they can swing their many arms to deal heavy damage to the player. They can shoot a beam out of their eye that will instantly kill the player. Similar to the Void Worm, they can tear open portals to easily reach players, and they can fire glitching static ranged ball attacks from their mouth at the player. All Farseer attacks ignore armor and enchantment, making them always deadly. And when slain, they drop Farseer arms. Next we have the Skreecher, which are strange, hideously mutated primates that can be found clinging to the ceiling of their native biome. They are defensive mobs that rarely spawn in deep, dark biomes and don't actually attack. They instead make a lot of loud monkey noises and clap loudly with their symbol arms, which can summon a warden. They're capable of climbing ceilings to escape, as although they summon wardens, the wardens will also target them, and you can temporarily disable their calling ability by throwing a projectile towards it, which will temporarily prevent it from making monkey noises, along with, if they are on the ceiling, it will send it plummeting to the ground. On death, they drop Skreecher souls. Next we have the Underminer. These are rare, ghostly inhabitants of abandoned mineshafts that can walk through walls with ease and disappear at will. They are neutral mobs that can be found in abandoned mineshafts if a player spends a long time in one. They have 3 variants, a dwarf variant, and 2 humanoid skins, one of which is similar to the Herobrine skin. They are incorporeal and capable of walking through blocks. If an Underminer is approached, it will temporarily disappear. They can sometimes be seen mining blocks with their pickaxes, but because they are ghosts, they cannot actually break the blocks. They will only break blocks that have ores behind them, and if you drop a specific ore block near one, they will cease being invisible and instead search for that ore. They can only be attacked with magic, and they drop ghostly pickaxes. Finally, for the very scary update, we have the Murmur. These are tortured souls that can only be found deep in the bowels of the overworld. While they appear to be harmless people, they're actually horrifying undead monsters with serpentine necks that they can control at will. They're hostile mobs, and they only spawn rarely in caves below a Y level of -30. They will extend their neck upwards to get a good look at their target before extending their heads to bite at the target. Their necks have a reach of 50 blocks, which means running away won't really save you. If a Murmur's head or neck is hit, then the damage it receives will be halved, so you want to attack their bodies. They drop elastic tendons, red wool, and rarely unsettling kimonos. The second to last update we have is the Forest Friends update. The first mob in this is the Skunk. These are skittish mammals that can occasionally be found wandering through forests and taiga biomes. They are defensive mobs and will attack if chased for too long or if attacked by something else, and will defend themselves by spraying a noxious gas towards their target that applies the nausea effect. Some of this gas will also stick to blocks. If a skunk is applied with a status effect, any attached gas will apply the same effect. The gas stuck on blocks can be bottled to obtain stink in a bottle. These skunks can be bred with sweet berries and they do not drop anything on death. Next we have the banana slug. These are small mollusks that can often be found sticking to the sides of blocks or slowly traversing the undergrowth. These passive mobs can be found in old growth taiga biomes. They move very slowly. While moving, some slime will appear behind them and they can move up and down the sides of blocks. They have 4 variants: yellow, white, spotted yellow, and spotted white. They can be bred with brown mushrooms and when slain drop banana slug slime. Lastly, we have the blue jay. These are small blue birds commonly found flying through forests and singing their loud calls. These passive mobs will spawn in forests and taiga biomes and will attempt to eat any dropped food they find. If they are fed any type of seed, they will chirp a song that can reveal the location of nearby monsters. If fed glowberries, they will begin to follow its feeder temporarily. During this time, glowberries can also be fed to a raccoon, whereupon the blue jay will sit on the raccoon's back. If the raccoon attacks something, the blue jay will fight alongside it, and when in this state, it can be removed by feeding it glowberries again. They can be bred with maggots or crimson mosquito larvae, and drop feathers when slain. The last update we have to cover since the previous video is the freshwater update, and the first of 2 mobs added in this update is the Caiman. These are small crocodilians that hunt for fish and other small animals that they can crush between their strong jaws. They are neutral mobs that can be found in mangrove swamp biomes and attack by biting the target with their jaws. They can occasionally be seen vibrating rapidly at the water's surface and making a large splash to communicate dominance. They can be tamed if you are near Caiman eggs when they hatch and can be set to follow, stay, or wander. Tamed Caimans will aid in combat by grabbing entities in their jaw, making them very slow and easy to hit. They can be bred with raw catfish and do not drop anything if slain. The last new mob we'll be covering is the Triops. These are small shrimp-like crustaceans characterized by their hardness and triple compound eyes. They are passive mobs that spawn underwater in desert and badlands biomes. They can be collected with a water bucket to obtain a bucket of Triops. They can be bred with carrots and they scare away any mosquitoes they encounter. And with that covers all the mobs added in the many updates since the previous video. I hope you enjoyed our journey through these new mobs. This is definitely one of the most polished creature mods for the game and receives updates at a shockingly rapid rate, although this rate may slow down as Alex focuses on his new Alex's Caves mod. There are also tons of unique items added by the mod with useful effects, so let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in seeing a dedicated video that covers them. The link to the mod download will be in the description below, as well as the mod wiki, and I will also let you know what shaders used in this video. There will be a link to the mod Discord as well as my Discord if you want to join for any updates on any of those. And that about wraps everything up, so remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. We'll see you next time. Peace out, everyone.